Good evening, everybody. May I remind everyone present that the meeting is being live streamed as well as recorded via the internet, and this recording archived for future viewing. If you wish to speak, can you please use the remote raise hand function? When invited to address by me, please could you ensure that your microphone and camera is on to ensure you can be seen and heard when you're actively participating. Please ensure that all debate is raised verbally and not via the chat function for the sake of the recording. So welcome everyone, good to see everyone again on this lovely sunny evening, and we'll go right into the agenda with item 1, any apologies for absence.
Yes, Chair, Councillor Elliot Penn, and also we've got apologies from Claire Werrett and Jadlene van der Beurt. Thank you.
Thanks, Gareth. Can't see any other hands up. So we'll move on to agenda item 2. So the minutes of the meeting on the 19th of May, if there are any thoughts on that, or if anyone would like to second those minutes. Councillor Payne, seconding, thank you very much. Lovely. Agenda item 3, to receive declarations of interests and the nature of such interests, if there are any. Councillor Aviat.
Yes, I'd like to declare an interest on agenda item 4, please. As I'm a governor on Oakfield School and also my member of a family works at Pencoitry. I have dispensation. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Julie. I can't see any other hands up at the moment, so we'll move on then to agenda item 4. It's the summary of Eston inspection outcomes for spring 2025, an update on the school and statutory follow-up. So it's over to Caris to kick us off on this one.
Noswaith dda, diolch yn fawr, Chair. In terms of this report, there are 2 parts to this agenda item. The first part, I'll take you through some of the main points in terms of the report outlining progress of schools in statutory follow-up and also the Eston outcomes for spring 2025. Then, as follow-up to that, I'll be inviting Luke Tweedley, the head teacher of Oakfield Primary School in Barry, to provide us with his experiences of a recent Eston inspection, and in particularly the 2 spotlights that have been highlighted at the school as part of the Eston inspection process. So in terms of Eston and outcomes in spring term 2025, I'm sure you all recall that Eston in September 2024 introduced a new inspection framework to last between 2024 and 2030. And with this framework, there is an expectation that Eston will engage more with schools and that every school will have a core inspection and an interim visit. In terms of the core inspections for schools in the Vale during the spring term of this academic year, 4 schools received a core inspection. They are Oakfield Primary, Fairfield Primary, Ysgol Gwaun y Nant and Ysgol y Derry. And in terms of Appendix 1, you will find there information about the outcomes of the inspection. You'll also find information about some of the recommendations highlighted by Eston and the reasons and the context behind those recommendations. In terms of follow-up work following the Eston inspections, there was no follow-up work at all in relation to Oakfield Primary, Ysgol Gwaun y Nant and Ysgol y Derry. You will see from the report that Fairfield Primary was placed in statutory follow-up category of significant improvement. When schools go into a statutory follow-up category, there is an expectation to have a draft action plan in place to address the Eston recommendations. So the plan then must be presented to Eston within 20 working days of the publication of the report. Central South Consortium and the local authority have worked closely with Fairfield Primary to develop this plan, and this plan was presented to Eston in a timely manner. In terms of the meeting then, there's been a follow-up meeting with Estyn last week as it happens, where the plan has been discussed further in terms of with 2 Estyn inspectors, and we're now waiting formal approval in terms of the plan. In terms of Estyn monitoring Fairfield Primary, that will happen around 12 to 18 months after the inspection was published. So Estyn, when they will revisit the school, will consider if sufficient progress has been made. If sufficient progress is clearly evident, then Estyn will remove the school from the statutory follow-up category. If not, the school will be judged to be requiring special measures. In terms of going back to the other inspection reports, you'll see in 2.8 there's a reference to some of the innovative practice that have been highlighted by Estyn in Vale of Glamorgan schools inspected in the spring term. And those are identified very often as spotlights. So you'll see that Oakfield Primary had 2 spotlights identified in their inspection report, outlining the effective partnership with parents to support pupils' learning and well-being, and also their work in developing a creative curriculum through a focus on expressive arts and inquiry-based learning. And we'll hear more about those spotlights from Luke later. In terms of Ysgol Derry, I'm just drawing your attention to the fact that 5 spotlights were highlighted in their inspection report, and that's a very significant number of spotlights there. And it includes a reference to high quality interventions, the provision of assistive technology, development of a vocational curriculum, outdoor experiences, and staff professional learning. As well as the core inspections in the spring term, 8 schools also received an interim visit by Estyn. And you've got the list of the 8 schools in 2.9. And in Appendix 4, you'll find a list of those schools, as well as a link to the letter that is published following their visit by Estyn. The visits focused on school development priorities since the last inspection, and the letters will give you a flavour of what has been captured by Estyn and the progress made in relation to those recommendations. Moving on to the progress of schools in a statutory follow-up. In the spring term, there was 1 school, Pencoitra, that were in a Estyn statutory follow-up category, and they, as we know, are in special measures. Estyn monitor the progress of the school on a termly basis, and they visited back in March to focus on 2 recommendations. The first recommendation about improving strategic leadership, and the 5th recommendation that the school is focusing on, looking at provision to develop the standards of pupil skills. In terms of Estyn feedback following the monitoring visit, you'll see there's reference to the fact that Estyn report that the executive head teacher and leaders have successfully improved pupils' behaviour. They've created a strong safeguarding culture, and there's gradual improvements in terms of attendance and teaching. All of this has had a positive impact on staff morale, and pupils are reporting that they feel happier and safer in school. There's a clearer structure as well now in terms of the senior leadership team that's been formalised, and that provides stability and clarity for the future. There's also reference to senior leaders being involved in quality assurance and monitoring activity. There's also a coaching programme that has been established, particularly to support teaching and learning, and that is valued by staff. There's also a focus on more, in terms of the coaching, there's more of a focus on the use of strategies rather than their impact on learning. In terms of data, use of data, you'll see there's reference to pastoral middle leaders using data effectively. This is an area for curriculum middle leaders to further improve. Estin acknowledges as well that the school improvement priorities are sensible and relevant, and that in general, school is making positive progress against some of these priorities. In terms of the progress on skills, there is a need to further improve pupils' literacy and numeracy skills. There are several new initiatives that have just been put into place in terms of literacy in particular, but Estin acknowledged that it is too early at the moment to monitor the impact of those strategies and interventions. There's also a reference to the need to further develop literacy and numeracy skills across the curriculum. So that's in terms of the report. So I'm now, and I'll take questions after Luke's presentation if that's okay. I'm now going to hand over to Luke to provide us with further information about the Oakfield inspection and in particular the spotlights highlighted in terms of their school inspection. Diolch yn fawr iawn, Luke.
Gareth, am I going to screen share or are you screen sharing? Sorry. Here we are. Hello, good evening. So I'm Luke Tweedley, head teacher of Oakfield Primary School. As Caris just mentioned, we were inspected back in February and had a really successful experience with Estin, and I've been asked to kind of share that with you today. I think before I get into the inspection and kind of our spotlights, it's really important to understand the context of our community and our school. Could I have the next slide, please, Gareth? These are just some lovely images, because when we talk about schools, it's often quite easy to forget, you know, why we're here and the wonderful children that we've got in our school as well. And if we could go on to the next one, Gareth. And one more, please. So our vision at Oakfield is really that we're in this, if you don't know Oakfield, we're in the heart of the Gibbonsdown community. And our vision and mission is all centred around developing our families' confidence, independence, resilience and knowledge, so that our children and families can flourish and can go on to achieve and have high aspirations and develop that love of learning. Our motto is "Together Everyone Achieves More," and that kind of comes out really strongly in our Estin inspection, and there in our mission statement as well is around offering a broad and balanced curriculum and educating the whole child and supporting them to become the four purposes. And again, the inspection kind of highlighted that we do that really well, and we'll kind of share that with you in a second. Thanks, Gareth. So context for Oakfield, we've got 170 pupils on roll. We've got a really high percentage of children who are eligible for free school meals. So we hover around 60%. We have a rolling 3-year average of 65%. So that's really high, and we are a little bit of an outlier in the Vale, and certainly nationally. So 2.5 times that of the national average. We have an increasing number of children from global majority backgrounds, and we have a really high number of ALN children who have an additional learning need, with quite a significant number of IDPs, which is 5 times higher than the national average. And a lot of those IDPs, the majority of them are focused around behaviour and social and emotional needs. Our attendance is on the rise, you know, considering 5 years ago we were 85%. We're actually 91% at the moment, and compared to our family of schools across Wales, so that takes into account our free school meal percentage, we actually outperform our family of schools for attendance, but we know that there's more that we can do. And a significant number of children who are on roll currently are involved with children and young people services. So there's lots of safeguarding meetings and safeguarding requirements that take place in the school. So it is quite unique. I've worked in lots of different contexts, and Oakfield is a really special and unique place. Sorry, Gareth. And we can skip through that slide. That was just to highlight kind of where we are. So when I met with Estin, so the new framework allows you to meet with your lead inspector a week before so you get the phone call. You've got 2 weeks and we're coming to see your school. And the week before, you meet with the lead inspector and you outline what things you think you do really well and what your school development priorities are and kind of how you've got to write those. So we consider our strengths to be our environment. It's safe, it's nurturing, it's purposeful. We encourage children's independence and have a strong focus on well-being for all. Our provision is really, really good. So universal provision is that provision that's available for all learners. So we feel that actually we've got a really high threshold to meet all of the needs of our children. It's exceptionally high for mainstream education, and that allows then our ALM provision to be really, really good. And then our relationships over the years, even before my time at Oakford, I've been there 3 years, but we've worked really, really hard over the last sort of 5 or 6 years to develop really strong relationships with our community, because it's our community that are going to help us succeed, and they're the ones that nurture our children when they're not in our care. So we're working really hard to become a community-focused school within the Pencoitra learning community. So what are some of our challenges? So on entry baselines, so those 3-year-olds that are coming into us, many of them are non-verbal, nearly all, so that's 90% and above, come in below the expected level for literacy, numeracy, and their kind of health and well-being. We've got generally low aspirations within the community from that low employment, and there's a high dependency on others to have their needs met. So we do a lot of work with our families, and you'll hear about that in terms of one of our spotlights in a second. And historically, the school, there's been quite a high attrition rate of staff. So the need to develop compassionate leadership, and it's something we're really proud of because it comes out in our inspection report. But everybody feeling valued and part of the big picture in terms of driving high aspirations and ensuring that our children learn and make progress. Thanks, Gareth. So, Estin, Karis asked me just to give a quick overview of the new inspection framework. So for primary schools, it's 2.5 days. So they arrive about midday on Monday, and you have a nominee. So the head teacher is more often than not the nominee to work with Estin throughout the week. And I've been part of other inspections before, both Ofsted and Estin inspections. And what was great was the inspection team have obviously had a directive to start with positive intent. So start with, this school is in a good place, and start with the information that I've got. And the inspection team really kind of made themselves at home really quite quickly, which then put staff, children at ease as well. So on the first day, we talked about our school improvement journey. They were straight into learning and teaching, so straight into classes across the school. They tended to top and tail, so they spent a lot of time in year 6, and they spent a lot of time in nursery and reception to kind of see how our children come in, and then see the progress that they make when they're ready to leave us and go on to year 7. There were safeguarding meetings and then team meetings. So I met with them at the start of at midday and then at the end of the day. And what they really focus on is triangulating any evidence. So they weren't just taking what I said at face value. They would triangulate that by talking to other members of staff, governors, pupils, and parents during the parent meeting as well. So the first day, they kind of orientate themselves in the school, and then and they get out and they start to meet our wonderful children. Let's move on to day 2. The big one. So it's an 8 o'clock start, and then there's a midday check-in and an end of the day summary. So as the nominee, the head teacher is part of all those meetings with the inspectors. On the Tuesday, we should have had 5 inspectors. We ended up having 6 inspectors because we're quite a small school, because the lead inspector was being quality assured by another Estin colleague. So it was a busy day. There was a real high priority of reading, and I know that I think the committee's spoken about reading in previous meetings, but Estin were really focused on reading. So children's chronological reading ages, the progress that they make, and how the school tracks the progress that children make in reading, and they were anywhere and everywhere. So they kind of swarmed the school and get a real flavour for it. Really high focus on standards. So looking at books, any opportunity they had to see how, not just books, but looking at how we evidence children's learning, because it isn't just always about what's written in the book, it's about talking to the children. So they spent a lot of time talking to our children, getting to know them, and the children being able to talk about the progress that they're making and what their next steps in learning are. And then at the end of the day, we started to get an idea of what some of the recommendations might be and what were some of the spotlights. So spotlights being, as Cara said, those innovative and worth sharing across Wales activities that are going on in schools. What I felt as a nominee and the head teacher was that I was able to challenge and discuss during the conversations that were happening. The inspection team were really open and honest, and they received my feedback. And it wasn't just feedback, it was about the context. They really took into account the context of the school when they were making their judgments, and they met with staff and leaders across all levels. And there's a lovely quote from the Eston inspection there about that high aspirations for all children to make progress, and that all children do make progress. They then really unpicked our curriculum, which was great, and that's come out as a spotlight. As you know, we've got a curriculum for Wales since 2015, and schools have been working, across the country to embed curriculum for Wales, and it's something that we've done, as Eston say, quite successfully, which is great. But yeah, and then on the last day, Gareth, the last day consists of 4 meetings, and one of those is a feedback meeting with governors and a representative from the LA. What I would say about the inspection was some of the things that I may have disagreed with. They offered me the chance to go on a joint learning walk with them, and I was able to articulate the why. So why do we do things the way that we do them in year 2, and is that based on the context of this year and the children that we've got, or is it a longer term picture and structural changes that we've made? So they were really approachable, really willing to listen, and we kept coming back to everything they saw that was positive. It's not by chance, it's by design, so it's intentional. And then ALN and family engagement came out as a real strength. And then they begin drafting their report, and a member from the LA comes in. So by the end of the day, on day 3, they'd given us our 2 recommendations, which I wholeheartedly agree with. And we're full of praise for the progress that we've made on our school improvement journey as well. Thanks, Gareth. So the 2 spotlights that we had, the first spotlight was around how we work with our families and the wider community, but it really having tangible impacts on children back in school. So it's not just that we have coffee mornings. It's not just that we have a food bank on the school site. It's not just that we have parents in for, performances of understanding where they have an understanding of the children's schoolwork. It's not just about reading with children and how we have language and play sessions. They could see it all has a tangible impact on either children's attitudes to learning, so that readiness to learn, being in school and wanting to be in school, how regulated the children are at the start of the day, having their needs met. We talk to our families about food and nutrition. Children can't learn on an empty stomach. It's all those things and considerations that some schools wouldn't have to take into account, but we certainly do. One of the things they were really impressed with, and I mentioned earlier, is the impact on attendance. So some of our families maybe didn't have the best experience of school themselves, but them seeing the value in education and wanting their children to come in. So our improvement in attendance over the last few years as well. And a big part of that is the role of our family engagement officer. So that is a learning support assistant who is out every morning working with families. She contacts families that aren't in, so we know exactly where every child is. This funding came via Welsh Government, via the Vale. I think the Vale applied for it, and it's had a really, really big impact on the things that we're able to do, with tight school budgets. Our family engagement officer has built fantastic relationships with our community, and they trust us, which is really, really important. And here is a photo of some of our parents who actually have signed up to Cardiff and Vale College. So we take them up in the minibus, and it's about growing aspirations in our parents, not just our children. So when we talked about high aspirations for all, it really is at all levels. So that was our first spotlight, and I think there's more to come from Eston on this. I was with them last week, and they want us to write a bit of a meaty case study around this. And then our second recommendation was around how we've developed a creative curriculum. At the time that they came to see us, we were focusing on expressive arts. We've got a bit of a spiral curriculum where we focus on all of the areas of learning experience each half term. And they came in and it was our expressive arts part in our kind of yearly overview, but also how we've embedded inquiry-based learning, which is a way in which children learn, where they are given provocations or big questions, big ideas, and they work through a process where they tune in, we find out what they already know, we give them more information, they sort that out, they then go further in terms of doing their own research. That might be out in the community, that might be school trips that we go on, it could be visitors that we have come into school, and then the children start to form all of that new information together with things that they already knew to make connections with the wider world, and then they go on to take action. So taking action is the last part of our inquiry cycle, where the children have to act on the things that they've learned and the things that they've done. So that might be community action, that might be something at a national or global level. We had some of our year fives, I think, during the Eston inspection, were writing to Downing Street about sustainable farming, so they could see kind of how that inquiry process has led them to ask questions and then produce high quality writing about issues that are impacting on our children now, but also in the future. And then we have our expressive arts. So the things that we've done, as mentioned in the report, we have a local artist who comes in and works with our children. She's fantastic. And it's a skill set that we don't already have in the school. So it's somebody that we have come in, and she's developed over the years great relationships with the children, and the artwork they produce is simply exceptional. Everybody here is welcome to a visit. If you want to come and see or visit Oakfield Primary School and you like what you've heard, you'll be more than welcome to come around our school. And we've also focused a lot on Cynefin, so an understanding of our culture and our heritage, not just in Wales, but I mentioned earlier about the increase in global children from global majority backgrounds, but valuing their heritage and their backgrounds as well. And we've done a lot of work with DARPAL and kind of our anti-racism journey as well. I think that, I don't know if I've gone over 10 minutes, Karis, but yeah, that's a little bit of a whistle-stop tour of our inspection. I don't know if anybody's got any questions. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much, Luke. That was great and really inspiring to hear about, the context of your school, but how you're addressing that, and certainly how, celebrate the spotlights that have been identified by Eston. So llongyfarchiadau mawr as a school on the Eston outcomes. So I'll now hand over to the chair to see if there's any further questions. Diolch yn fawr.
That's great. Thank you very much, Karis, and thanks to Luke for giving up your time and addressing the committee. Very grateful. We'll go straight into questions. So, Councillor Lynch-Wilson.
Hi, Luke. Thank you for bringing your presentation. It's always nice to see a face, and we welcome people to come. It's fantastic. It's not a question. It's just probably more of a comment. But fantastic reading. It was really lovely to read and listen. The spotlights, can I say, they're just spot on. How you're not allowing, that's the wrong word, but having interaction with the parents and the wider community. And I was very interested in the part about attendance, because anything that improves attendance, I just like to see what it is and go through it. And the other thing is you were the expressive arts, can't say it. Sometimes we value exams and put them through and the tests, and sometimes you can educate children without them even knowing. And I think expressive arts is a beautiful way to do that, to get people to learn without realizing they're learning. So just a well done, and congratulations, and carry on.
Thank you very much. We've got a great team here, and they'd be delighted to hear your comments. So thank you.
Thanks very much, Julie. Over to Councillor Avia.
Thank you, Chair. Hello, Luke. Just want to congratulate you and the staff. Take that back to them. And when on social media, when the parents heard about this report, it really lifted them up. The whole community is so proud. So thank you again, and I'll see you soon. Thank you. Bye.
That's great.
Great. Thanks very much, Julie. Councillor Payne next.
Diolch yn fawr, Carys. Thank you as well, Carys, for, there was a broad spectrum of inspections there, and nice to see such positivity across the Vale of Glamorgan as well. But thank you, Luke. I'm particularly interested in a comment that you made in terms of your early years, in terms of non-verbal arrivals. So I'm interested how you work with them and how they progress. And is this a regular occurrence now? Is it something that's increasing? Is it something that we need to focus on maybe?
Yeah, I think it's definitely increased since COVID, and there could be a whole host of factors that are at play at our school, and I know that schools within our cluster they've seen an increase in the needs of children as they start with us. They make really good progress with us, and part of the reason that Estin, attributed to that, and we knew it already, is about creating language-rich environments. So surrounding and immersing children in language, really good role models. So role modeling a range of language which is appropriate for them. And once you develop those language models in children, the children are modeling to each other. So what we've started to do are, before children start with us, we do language and play sessions. So we have children, before they begin their education with us, we have them come in and they work with our classroom teacher. So we allow our nursery teacher to come out and work with parents, and we send home story sacks with puppets, and we show the parents how to use them. So we are trying to encourage kind of the use of stories and talking to the children, and in some cases putting down the phone, putting down the doom scrolling, and maintaining eye contact and showing them even non-verbal cues, showing them what emotion looks like in a positive way. And so yes, it's increased over the years, and I don't think it's going to change anytime soon. But we are doing our best to work with families before we, before they arrive at us. And I know that Flying Start are also doing a huge amount of work trying to work with families as well. But once the children are in that environment, as you can see from the kind of the results that we get, the children do make really good progress, but they might not leave us at the expected level for their age. But that's because they've come in below the expected level. So it's really hard to play catch up, isn't it? So even just maintaining progress is an achievement. And what we need to do is try and close that gap as well.
That was going to be my next question, Luke. Mine was in terms of tracking those entry-level learners and seeing where they go. But, well done for getting them, to that level as well, because they've got a longer journey than most children starting school. So brilliant, well done. And my other thing was around, the good use of our money in terms of liaising with parents, building parents' aspirations as well, working with Cardiff and Vale College and Oakfield School. That's a brilliant initiative. So well done on that as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Diolch yn fawr.
Diolch, Helen. Councillor Asbury next.
Hi, Luke. First of all, well done, obviously, like other people have said. And you did offer people to come for a visit. And I've noticed you have a very high percentage of ALN, almost 50%. And obviously that's not going to be easy. But I'm very interested in your Spotlight 1, developing effective partnerships with parents. So if I could come on a visit, could I see how that partnership works with parents, please? Because that would obviously feed into the ALN and raising standards in reading, I think, anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. We can arrange. I'll share my contact details with Karis, and then she'll be able to send them on to you. But yeah, more than welcome, as I say, to anybody. We can have a tour of the school. The children will show you around, and then we can arrange to meet with our family engagement officer as well, so she can share the work and also meet some of the parents as well. I think it's really important that you guys as councillors get the opportunity to see our parents and what it's meant to them. So yeah, the invitation is there.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Anne. Councillor Haynes is next.
Thank you both. And a question for Luke, if you don't mind, and probably some clarification as well on another matter. You touched on children arriving at school hungry. Is this growing, or are we getting a handle on it? Are parents, with your outreach to the parents, are you addressing this issue with them more, or what's happening basically?
Yeah, okay. So something that Welsh Government did, I think it was about maybe 7 or 8 years ago, and I may be wrong, so don't quote me. They introduced a breakfast club offer. So part of their breakfast club offer was that a healthy and nutritious breakfast should be available for all children, which is a great initiative, right? So children need to be, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. They need to be fed, they need to be rested before they're able to learn. Now, I wouldn't say working in this community, it's something new. I would say there's other communities and I've worked in really affluent schools as well, where maybe feeding children at the start of the day wouldn't even be a consideration, because children come in, they're regulated, all of their needs have been met, they're ready to sit down and learn. So I wouldn't say it's increased. I haven't seen an increase, because I think it's always been there in schools that work in high levels of deprivation. But our awareness of how important it is to meet the children's needs, and for our parents to meet the children's needs before they even get to us, we've become more aware, and we've shared that more with children. So, for example, at our breakfast club, we offer scrambled eggs, avocado, healthy fats, baked beans, things that are going to fill them up for the day. And we receive grants from organisations to be able to put on a slightly more nutritious breakfast than the base rate that we get from Welsh Government. Yeah, I hope that answers your question.
It does. Another one, a bit of clarification. You used the term global majority twice. Can you clarify what you mean by that? Because I'm not entirely sure what you mean.
Okay, so families that come from originate from anywhere outside of kind of the UK. So it used to be black and ethnic minorities, so BAME, so black and ethnic minority backgrounds, but global majority backgrounds is the term that's used now, or universally accepted.
Right. Okay. So basically, you're lumping Southeast Asians with, I don't know, people from North Africa. It just doesn't fit well, really, with me. I'm just saying that, but that's okay as long as I understand what you're saying. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Steve and Luke. I can't see any other hands up at the moment, so I just wanted to come in with a question of my own. You talked about the improvements in attendance, and I just wondered if you could elaborate on how you've done that, and if you have any targets for future attendance, because obviously it's a big thing that a lot of schools that come before the committee talk about, and something that needs a real effort.
Yeah, so before I actually met with the lead inspector, or when I met with the lead inspector before he came to school, he said, "What are the things you do really well?" And I said, "Attendance." And he said, "What's your attendance percentage?" And I said, "Well, it's 90%, 91%. And he laughed, and he sort of was like, "Really? That's good. The national average is like 93, 94%. And I said, "Yeah, but the journey that we've been on to get to where we are, there's literally nothing else that we could do. We've exhausted kind of all avenues." And then when he came to school, they were blown away by the way in which we track and monitor attendance. So the things that have worked really well are, we've got an attendance team. So our attendance team is our admin officer, our family engagement officer, and the deputy head teacher. So by 9:30, we know every child that's not in. We initially send a text message to that family, and if we haven't had a response within the hour, we give them a phone call. So we know where every child is. Legally, we have to cite children every week. If they've been off school for a week, we do that every 3 days, and we've got a rigorous attendance policy. So we kind of badger parents to get them in. And don't get me, and I'm talking about persistent non-attenders. I'm not talking about children that are ill. If we know that they're ill, we're not badgering parents. But those that might be persistently absent from school, how do we encourage them to come into school? So it's supporting the parents. Sometimes that's with the routines. So parents haven't got the children in a routine in the morning of the expectation that we get up, we get dressed, we might have breakfast, we might have it at school, but we get up, we get ready, and we go to school. So kind of reinforcing that routine of going somewhere. Then we do things quite innovatively, and I spoke to Vale Schools the other week. We have a spin the wheel game show that we do in assembly on a Friday. So it's basically to try and encourage children to come into school. So we have this, if you imagine like a Wheel of Fortune wheel that spins around, and classes with attendance over 93% get a spin on the wheel. And what we've seen is, and they win rewards like ice cream, they win rewards like a bouncy castle at the end of term, penalty shootout with a teacher, an extra playtime, those sorts of things. And the children, honestly, like if any of you do come and visit on a Friday afternoon and see one of our assemblies, because the children go mad. But what we've seen is a shift in behaviour, that the children want to be in school. So they want to, they're part of something bigger. They're part of their class, and they don't want to let everybody down. So they want to be in school. So children who can't attend for medical reasons aren't accounted for in that attendance percentage. So we're not penalising anybody, but we're really encouraging those to come into school. So we do a spin the wheel on a Friday, and the children will talk to you about that. It's great. And again, it's not a consideration that I would have had in a different school, in a different context, where children just come to school because their parents are working, and they need to drop their children off because they need to go to work. It's a slightly different dynamic for some of our families here. So we have to try to be as creative as possible. And then the Vale of Glamorgan also have an inclusion team that works centrally. So if we are worried and we feel like we've exhausted all of our options, we refer them in to the Vale of Glamorgan and ask for their support in chasing attendance as well, and citing children. But it fundamentally, it comes from relationships. It comes from the family's relationship with the school, and the children and the families wanting their children to be here. So we work really hard in kind of creating positive experiences for children. And we talk to staff all the time about make learning irresistible. If you make learning irresistible, the children will want them to come, and the parents will want the children to be here.
Okay.
I hope that maybe answers your question.
No, that did answer it very comprehensively. No, thank you, because obviously it's a huge issue for schools, well and beyond the venue.
Yeah, so you've got national priorities for maths, attendance, and literacy as well. So those are the three national priorities for Welsh Government.
Right. Thank you for that. I just wanted to bring Caris back in for a sec. Sorry, Luke, I don't have any more questions for you at the moment. Caris, thanks very much for your presentation. I just want to ask about Fairfield. You talked about the next kind of inspection that'll be coming up down the line. I mean, what's your expectation for that? Are you expecting a pass grade to be given? I know it's a way off, but just what's the lay of the land when it comes to that?
At the moment, they've just been working very hard in terms of their plan, their post-inspection action plan, and that's been the main focus. And the meeting with Estyn was very positive in terms of what's been planned. And in terms of the plan, there's actually key milestones which have been identified for each recommendation on a term-by-term basis. So that is very helpful for the school in terms of monitoring progress. Are they on track in relation to planned activities, or is there anything that needs to be done different? So at the moment, we're just starting the monitoring of that, using the milestones and using the plan to support us with that. In terms of the next visit from Estyn, that will be, as I said, 12 to 18 months from the date the report was published. And the report was published at the end of May. So you're talking either at the end of summer 2026 or in the autumn term 2026 when Estyn will revisit. So they'll spend time in the school. It'll be a 2-day visit by Estyn. They'll spend time in the school. They'll focus on the recommendations. So hopefully by then you will see that the school has made progress in relation to the recommendation, and that's been captured, and the school will be addressing the milestones and so forth to support them to address the recommendations. So, sort of things have started well in terms of the school working closely with the local authority and the consortium in terms of the planning. And there is, they're very keen as a team of staff to refine and improve their practices further.
Okay, thank you, Caris. I can't see any other hands up. So then it just leaves me to thank Caris and thanks to Luke for coming in and talking to us. It's always great to hear from head teachers, so we're really grateful for your presentation. Councillor Payne, did you want to? It might be a.
Yeah, Chair, just a quick one. Can we send congratulations to those schools, please, in terms of their inspections from the scrutiny?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's no problem. So yeah, thanks to Luke for coming in. Always grateful, and we'll pay you a visit at some point in the future. So yeah, I move that we note the summary of Eston inspections and the update on the school and the statutory follow-up, and congratulate those schools who've had positive outcomes. If anyone would like to second that. Councillor Haynes and Payne, diolch yn fawr iawn. Thank you. Thanks, Luke. You're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting or go and enjoy the sun. Okay, moving on to the next item, Schools Budget and Admissions Forum representation. It's over to Lisa Lewis.
Good evening, Chair. I just wanted to bring the report to your attention. It's asking for volunteers from the committee to become part of the Budget Forum and the Admissions Forum, both of which are statutory forum that obviously school budgets. We have a set, within the report, it details set responsibilities. It's not a voting forum, but it is a forum where discussions about all matters relating to school budgets take place. They're on a termly basis mainly, unless there's an additional required meeting for particular reasons, but certainly no more than 4 a year. And the Admissions Forum, again, is a body set up by regulation to basically to review existing and proposed admission arrangements, and to review how comprehensive they are, how accessible they are. We look at ALN, we look at other opportunities and other issues that occur within the year. So really, this is to ask for a representative. It could be one person for both, or it could be it could be two different committee members, depending on the interest we have.
That's great. Thank you very much for that, Lisa. I hope that's given an outline to committee members about the process. So we'll begin then with the School Budget Forum. That's recommendation 1. So see Councillor Payne would like to come in.
Thank you, Chair. Can I nominate Councillor Wendy Gilligan for both, please?
Sure. Thank you, Helen. Over to Councillor Hennessy.
Yeah, I'd like to nominate Councillor Stephen Haynes for both of them, as I believe it would look better if it wasn't someone from the ruling administration.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Hennessy. Just making a note of this. Councillor Aviat.
Sorry, thank you. I'd like to second Councillor Gilligan, please.
Fab. Thank you, Julie. Is anyone else with a hand up? Councillor Asbury. Oh, we can't hear you, Anne.
Right. I would like to second Councillor Hennessy's proposal, please.
Okay, thank you, Anne. Okie dokie. So you've had 2 nominations for both. Gareth.
Should we do a simple, say, election, Chair, where I can do a simple vote and members can select their preference? Just thinking how the best way to do this. If members can say, what I'll do, Chair, we'll perhaps do 2 votes, one for Councillor Gilligan, then one for Councillor Haynes. So let me just set up the vote first, Chair.
Okay, thanks, Gareth.
Okay, Chair, I'll just start the vote now.
Thank you. So just before people vote, Gareth, what were you, so first one?
Yeah, so Chair, first we'll Councillor Gilligan, so we'll get a tally for those 4 Councillor Gilligan, and then we'll do another one for Councillor Haynes, and then whoever's got the highest vote will become the representative on both forums.
Okay,
if that makes
Thank
sense.
you, Gareth.
Yeah.
Cheers. So for clarity, Councillor Gilligan's the first vote.
That's correct, Chair. So the first vote is for Councillor Gilligan, which is up now.
Lovely. Thank you.
Okay, Chair, I've still got a few non-voters, Councillor Asprey, Councillor Haynes and Councillor Hodges. Councillor Payne isn't with us. Councillor Haynes, you're muted.
I'm still waiting for permission to vote. I got no permission to vote on my screen. I should imagine that's the same with the others.
Okay, Chair, I'm afraid I can't change the voting system, Chair. So what I can ask is Councillor Haynes can say his vote verbally, Chair, and I'll record it with the rest of the others. And who else?
Against.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
And have the other votes come in, Gareth?
Well, it's Councillor Hodges as well, Chair. Councillor Hodges, are you able to vote? I think, Chair, Councillor Hodges actually left, so it's just Councillor Haynes, Chair. So
no problem.
We've got 6 for Councillor Gilligan, and then I'll just create another vote for Councillor Haynes now, Chair. So just bear with me, please.
Sure. Thank you, Gareth.
Okay, Chair, that vote will just start any moment. Okay, Chair, the vote has started.
No permission to vote again.
I know, we'll have the same problem. So, Councillor Haynes, you can say verbally, we'll add her on to the end, okay?
4.
Okay, Chair, so obviously there's 3 on the system, but it's actually 4. So I'll stop the vote now, Chair. And I make it then, Chair. We've got 6 voted for Councillor Gilligan from both forums and 4 voted for Councillor Haynes. So I make that Councillor Gilligan is duly elected to the representative of those both forums. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for undertaking that, Gareth. And congratulations to Councillor Gilligan on that. He'll be representing on both forums. Okay. And thanks to Lewis for the presentation. Moving on to the next agenda item, the task and finish review activity. So it's over to Gareth.
Thank you, Chair. Just very briefly, so back in May, Chair, we took a report on task and finish activity for the committee that included 4 work programme items. So a range of suggestions were collated from members of the committee at this meeting in May, with additional suggestions sent to the Chair via email. From those suggestions, Chair, the Director of Learning Skills has assessed all those suggestions and has proposed 5 possible reviews to be considered for progression. These 5 reviews are closely aligned to the current Council's priorities and the Corporate Plan Vale 2030, and as well as being considered achievable within the 12-week start to finish review cycle. So the 5 possible suggestions, Chair, are: number 1, what has been the impact on schools having to make difficult decisions to balance budgets? Number 2, analysing the variances in school budget surpluses and deficits and identifying good practice and areas for improvement. Number 3, creating a school transport policy. Number 4, review the additional learning needs resource bases. And finally, number 5, evaluate the running of school buildings, including new builds, and identify good practice, Chair. So we just here, Chair, to ask the committee to agree which review should begin first. And also, once that's agreed, Chair, we're just looking for membership, ideally with a minimum of 5, and comprised from members from all committees, if possible, political parties, if possible. And if need be, Chair, we could obviously have some of the cooperative members on board as well, which would be very useful. So over to the committee. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Gareth. And would you be able to outline the survey results that we undertook?
Yes, of course, Chair. So just before the staff the agenda was published, we did a quick survey of head teachers, primary and secondary head teachers, and also members on the Vale Governors Forum. And I think it was 62 people surveyed. We had 39 responses, Chair. And we just asked a simple question: of the 5 reviews, which one they felt should be progressed first? And we had 31 in favour for the review on the impact on schools having to make difficult decisions around balancing budgets. That was the first, the one that came out on top with 31 votes. And the next was, with 4 votes, was a review into ALN resource bases. Then we had 3 voting for the analysing variance in school budgets. 1 vote for the creating a school transport policy. But unfortunately, we didn't have any votes to say that the review of school buildings should be started first, Chair. So the most popular choice was the impact on schools have to make tough budget decisions. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Gareth. Given that 31 out of the 39 surveys of the head teachers and the governors indicated they like to discuss or like to have a task and finish on what has been the impact on schools having to make difficult decisions to balance budgets, I think that's probably a pretty clear indication that should be one of the 2 task and finish topics. But the others, there was a real mix, wasn't there? There were kind of 4, 3, and 1 for the others. So interested to hear what other councillors think. Councillor Payne.
Yeah, can I just check something? Did that survey came from Scrutiny, or was that from the chair? Because we didn't agree that at the last Scrutiny, and I wasn't sure if any of the guidance that we've got would have sanctioned that. I just wanted to check with Gareth. Is that correct, Gareth? Because that wasn't at the last Scrutiny.
No, it's correct, Chair. It came from a request from the Chair, which was actioned.
So what's that in terms of procedural stuff then? Because shouldn't the request come from Scrutiny? Because we were not aware of that. None of us.
It was just on request of the Chair, Councillor Payne. I mean, it's just an indication of for yourself to where the most popular TNF review is. You don't have to take her on board. It's just there for your information. And it's if members want to ignore it, then it's entirely up to them.
All right, thanks, Gareth.
Thanks very much, Councillor Goodjohn.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think all that information needs to be taken into account, but personally, I think that considering the recommendation from Governance and Audit, and also considering the current work being done the overspend in ALN. I think that the review of ALN is probably the thing that we should prioritise first, especially because we also need to consider the fact that this is a 12-week task and finish group. I think the main thing is we need to be able to have a small enough scope that we can provide a comprehensive review and give a report back to Cabinet as quickly as possible. This is our first task and finish. I would personally think that a full review of the difficulties regarding school budgets might be a little bit too much for our first task and finish. I'm not disregarding the idea at all. I'm just saying that as our first task and finish, perhaps something a little bit smaller, but still of important, high relevance to many schools, I think would be quite helpful.
Thanks. Ewan, Councillor Payne.
Thank you, Chair. Just in terms of across the board, really, also in terms of parents' perspective and pupils' perspective, and the pull on our budgets in terms of additional learning needs. And also, if you look at things around school transport and budgets and what we provide in terms of school transport, I'd want to propose that the number 4, the review of additional learning needs, is the first thing that we look at. And the second thing that we look at on the back of that, then, in terms of task and finish, we look at creating a school transport policy. So those would be the things I think would be achievable for officers and for scrutiny, and in terms of the pull generally on our budgets and our resources in terms of ALN. So I would like to propose those two initially. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Helen. And just to clarify, there'll be 2 in the next 12 months, and then 2 in the 12 months after that, or potentially more. So it's not, this won't be finished after 12 months. There's 2 years until the election, and I assume this won't continue after that. So there's time to get into things. And all these 5 topics have gone through Gareth and Liz, and they've been looked at by officers and scoped by officers. There were suggestions from the last meeting that weren't taken forward because they were judged not to be within scope. So just to clarify that for everyone on the committee. Councillor Hennessy.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I totally disagree with Councillor Goodjohn and Councillor Payne. There was an outright majority of 31 people saying they wanted to discuss schools' budgets. If we go out now and say we are not going to listen to what head teachers or governors or the budget forum says, that is a kick in the face for them. I do agree with Councillor Payne. School transport should be discussed. But I do believe school budget should be the first thing to be discussed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Haynes, next, please.
Thank you, Chair. I also agree on the evidence of the fact that head teachers and governors are particularly interested in this, that we should consider school budgets first. The idea that we're not capable of doing it is anathema, really. We need to be a little bit brave if we're going to do anything. There's no point having a task and finish if we can't try and achieve something. So that I also agree with that school transport should be the second thing, because I think it's the thing parents care most about after the education of the children. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Haynes. Martin.
As a school governor, I find the idea that at the moment, as I understand it, something like 2/3 of the schools in the Vale of Glamorgan are either in deficit or forecasting very high levels of deficit for this financial year. I find it amazing that that would not be the major high priority of doing things. And the fact that the head teachers and governors all agree with that seems to me an open and shut case. I would also say that I think the second thing should be, as the number 2 on your list, which is about the variation between schools, because I think there is a lot to be learned between schools as to how they manage their budgets and how they set their schools up and work in that way. So I feel those are major things which impact directly on the pupils and school and children in the schools in our care. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Martin. Phoebe.
Thank you. So, although we don't have vast experience in the sector of school budgets, we do have a vast experience in the areas of school transport and dealing with people with ALN. So, for our best interest and speaking on behalf of the younger generation, they've brought many experiences about the difficulties of school transport, how there isn't enough funding for ALN. So we would say that we should prioritise the school transport and ALN as it ties in nicely with the difficult decisions that schools have to actually go through. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Phoebe and Rhian. I assume that's a legacy hand, Martin. Over to Councillor Asbury.
From personal choice, I would like to see school transport as being number 1, because I have spoken to many, many parents with a major problem in school transport, not for next year, year after, right now and last year. But I do understand that head teachers and governors would see the budget as a major priority. That's happening right now and has been last year. So I will definitely support number 1. The first on the list, what has been the impact on schools having to make difficult decisions as continuing to be the most important. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. Councillor Goodjohn.
Sorry to come in again, Chair. I just wanted to clarify something. I'm by no means demeaning the recommendation on school budgets. I'm simply saying that the fact that we are to form a task and finish group of approximately 6 people, and that we have 12 weeks to then solve an issue that we then send a report back to Cabinet for them to implement, hopefully implement. I think that trying to solve the issue on school budgets ourselves immediately as our first task and finish is possibly not realistic. Simply because it is all-encompassing, simply because of how enormous an issue it is. And I'm not saying that the other issues aren't enormous, it's just by limiting the scope a little bit, we can perhaps have some more effective recommendations that can be more useful for officers, and perhaps something that can be more constructive in the short term. Again, I'm not discrediting school budgets by any means. I just think that ALN and school transport, as a lot of other people have said, are enormous priorities with a little bit of a smaller scope, which already have enormous impact on schools' budgets and the council's budget, considering the large overspends in those areas. So for something that's perhaps more constructive, that can provide more value for money for council taxpayers, and something that can perhaps improve the quality of life for students, perhaps that's something that's more constructive for us to do right now.
Thanks, Ewan. Just to kind of reiterate, this has been through a scoping exercise already, so there were, as you'll know, other suggestions that have been kind of whittled down a little bit to come up with this list of 5. Councillor Hennessy.
Yeah, I was just going to come back in and make that point. Democratic have said this is one of the 5. If Democratic and the other committees did not think they could do it, or could not give us the information they wanted, they wouldn't have said it was possible.
Thanks, Councillor Hennessy. Martin, do you want to come back in? I'm conscious that people are speaking multiple times, but Martin, go ahead.
I think the point I'd make is that the ALN problems and the ALN budget is part of a wider, bigger picture, in the same way that school transport is. The amount that school transport is over budget is a fraction of the overall education budget overspend. So I would be very strongly looking at the whole picture rather than looking at small parts of it.
Diolch, Martin. Councillor Payne.
Thank you, Chair. I don't know if you can see me. My screen is blank.
We can hear you though. That's fine.
Right. Okay. Fine. That's good enough. So, just in terms of priorities, this list, it doesn't mean things won't be discussed. It means these are the priorities that we're going to take them in. And as Councillor Goodjohn says, as our first task and finish, it would be good to look at the thing that has the biggest pull on our budget currently and on our resources, which would be the ALN and the additional learning needs. And then secondly, school transport. So it doesn't mean that the budget things won't be discussed. It just means these are achievable things that we can do in order of priority. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. Okay, so we've had a discussion there. Gareth.
Thank you, Chair. So I can see, Chair, there's obviously a consensus for 2 reviews to be started first, which would probably be the impact of the budget and ALN. So, Chair, if we do a vote like we did previously, so members can vote for their preference for the first review, and whichever comes on top will be the first review, and then whoever gets the lowest vote becomes the second review. And then once those 2 are complete, Chair, perhaps we can come back in a year's time, and then we can look at priorities again. I don't know if that's acceptable.
No, that sounds okay. That sounds okay with me, Gareth. Thank you.
Okay, Chair. So if members are agreeable, then I will start a vote for the school budget impact to be considered at the first review. So if members are agreeable with that, they can select yes or no. Councillor Haynes, hopefully now I've sorted out your voting issue, so you should be able to vote with the rest of the members. So I'll start the vote for the school budgets now, Chair. And then after that, we'll go on to the LN vote. So I'm just starting the vote now.
I've still got no permission to vote on here. I thought as a co-opted member I had a vote.
You should have, yes. If it's an education matter, Chair, and I believe I'm not sure about this, Chair. This is more procedural matter in terms of, is it direct education matter?
I assume that co-opted members would be able to have a say on this.
It is. The legislation is quite specific in terms of education matters, and I don't know whether this is more procedural than educational. So I'll probably we can take Dr. Martin Price's vote, Chair. But if I may need to take legal advice, and if it changes the outcome, Chair, we'll have to come back at some point.
Okay.
And Lucy, probably the same as well, Lucy.
Yeah, I'm in the same situation.
Okay, just bear with me. Okay, I want to take the votes verbally for Lucy Barraclough and Dr. Martin Price, Chair. So I'll just start the vote. I think the vote has started, Chair. So, Lucy, are you able to express your preference whether you feel the school budget one should be started first? Would that be yes or no? Hello, Lucy, are you there?
Sorry. Yes, it's a yes for the first vote from me.
Okay. And Dr. Price, can I take your vote as well, please, your preference?
Yes for that one as well.
Okay, Chair, so I'll just display the result with the councillors. So we got 4 for and 6 against, Chair. With the 2 co-opted members, Chair, that's obviously an equal tie vote, Chair. So we'll have a bit of impasse here, Chair, because I'm not sure of what's the best way to go, Chair. So I think we might have to come back after the recess. Okay, Gareth. And then we'll take the report again, Chair, unless members are willing to change their viewpoint and try and decide on a vote now, which we can agree on at the meeting at present, Chair.
I suppose we could vote again and see. I mean, given 31 out of 39 head teachers and governors expressed their view, maybe that'll be worth listening to, but
yeah, Chair. Yeah, we were at an impasse, Chair. Without seeking further clarity from my supervisor, Chair, I'm going to have to defer this item to the next meeting, Chair.
If you have to, that's okay. But I guess we've got agreed that school budgets and ALN will be the top two, and then it's just deciding in which order that'll happen.
Yeah, but Chair, we'll have to come back the thing is, Chair, we'll have to come back as a committee, and we're not due to meet, until I think so in September, Chair. So it might delay the process, but I suppose, Chair, this is where we're at. And unless members are willing to change their view now and express a task and review, we can all have a consensus on, Chair. But I'm not seeing any hands up, Chair, apart from Councillor Haynes. You want to take Councillor Haynes, Chair?
Sure, Councillor Haynes.
Got to remember to turn my camera on and unmute myself. Yeah, I'm just mindful of the period of time here, Chair. Could we not take, if we're going to take legal advice and come back, could we not have a quick meeting, in a couple of weeks' time to decide this matter? So, there's an option to start the task and finish, over the break, or at least prepare ourselves for it.
Yes, Chair. I just think in my mind then, I just thought that idea came in my mind just as you were thinking as well, Chair, Councillor Haynes. So yeah, we could factor in a special meeting, perhaps towards the end of July, or we could actually defer this item but then defer the actual meeting. It's probably better if we just come up with a fresh meeting, Chair. So we look at a fresh date. So if members are happy, Chair, we'll defer this to a later meeting at the end of the month. But that could be.
Yeah.
I'll send you.
Is there another way to get the votes, or another meeting is the only way?
We need a meeting, Chair. Committee meetings. We'll have to have a formal meeting to decide the way forward.
Okay. Shall we? I mean, we can vote again and see if there's any change.
Yeah. Can I come in first?
Yeah.
If legal comes back and says that the two co-opted members are able to vote and their votes is 6-6, why don't we just put in position what the chair's casting vote will be? So at least that way then there will be no need for a special meeting.
Yeah, that would be a solution, Chair. If members of the committee are happy with that. So pending obviously
kind of common sense.
Pending legal advice, Chair. If obviously, Chair, if you want to give your preference.
Sure. Yeah. Well, my preference would be budgets number 1 and then ALN number 2. And if you go and seek legal advice, Gareth, and get some clarity on that, then we can all have some clarity on the situation. Okay. Sorry for this, Chair. It's obviously a bit of a grey area, and I don't want to just make a decision and then be in a mess later. No, absolutely. It's a new thing, isn't it? And thank you for all your work on this. And for seeking some legal advice on clarity tonight. So thank you, Gareth. Thank you, everyone. Cheers. Great. So thanks, everyone, for your participation.
Councillor Payne has her hand up.
All right, Councillor Payne.
Thank you, Chair. I'm blank again, and I've no idea why. I don't think
we can hear you.
No. Okay, so can I just check with Scrutiny, Democratic Services, who is entitled to vote anyway? Because obviously we've had some voices of young people here tonight as well. So I would like to know who can actually vote and who can't vote in terms of co-opted or not. Gareth, is that possible, please?
Yes, Chair. Yes, there are 4 members with co-opted rights, but the legislation says it's specific to educational matters. So I suppose it's a matter of opinion whether this is actually a formal education matter, whether it's a bit of a grey area, in my opinion. So, Chair, anyway, the 4 members are Claire Weret, Church in Wales, Dr. Martin Price, Roman Catholic Church, Lucy Barraclough, Parent Governor, and Jelaine van der Beurt, Parent Governor Secretary. But obviously, Jelaine and Claire Weret are not present, Chair. So the two cooperative members with rights are Dr. Price and Lucy Barraclough. Sure. And you've laid out the situation. You need to receive legal advice, and we'll update us on the situation. I think that's the long and the short of it at the moment. So, Chair. So, if we can resolve it without the committee meeting, obviously we've got our resolution to take the school budget one first, based on legal advice. If the legal advice comes back that the votes were obviously counted correctly, we'll have to come back and consider it again. And for that, we'll arrange a special meeting, Chair, as soon as we can. No, that's great. Thank you, Gareth, and thank you for your work on all this so far. It's new and clearly taking a little bit of getting used to. So I move that we note that agenda item then. Seconded by Councillor Hennessy. Diolch yn fawr iawn. So thank you everyone for your attendance and participation tonight. And we'll see you again. Nos da.